Thank you all for coming tonight. We're really happy to see you all here, and we'll get this started, and we hopefully can address all of your questions. My name is David Snowden. I'm the assistant to the town manager, and I have with us Ed Pasek, who will be handling and managing the town's municipal contract. So yeah.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. On behalf of Waste Management, we're really excited to be working here in the town of Shrewsbury. We're excited about the opportunity to partner with the town and provide this important service. So really the purpose of today's meeting is to go over some of the changes that we know are going to be happening in town. Really not the changes won't be too extensive or anything, but it's just worth letting everybody know up front ahead of time so that there's no surprises. And certainly, I guess maybe one ask that we would have for everybody here is that, if you kind of maybe be an ambassador for some of the changes. So if your neighbors or anybody else in the community that you're talking to has questions, feel free to kind of bring them up to speed with what we're talking about here tonight. So really, the biggest change, I don't know if you want to kind of get it there. So we've got a few meetings. Obviously, tonight's the first one. Next slide. Next slide. So, what to expect? So, really, the biggest change that we're going to, that I think you're going to experience here in town, is going to be the way the recycling is collected. So, the same items are still going to be collected. It's just going to be the way that those items are scheduled for collection. So, what do we mean by that? You can see here, we're going to have we're going to have alternating weeks of collection. We're going to have a yellow week, we're going to have a gray week. You're still going to have what we call dual stream recycling, where the recycling will be divided into what we call commingle, which is your bottles, your bottles, your glass, metal, plastic items, and then you'll also have on the other week, you'll have your paper and cardboard items. So what we have here is yellow week is going to be the cardboard and paper, and that's actually going to be the first week of the change. So July 1st, we're going to be, the change will be in effect, and Waste Management will start collecting on July 1st, and that is going to be the first week of collection. So the way it's going to work is you will put out your trash, and then you will put out recycling, but it's only going to be your the newspaper and the cardboard. The next week you'll put out your trash again, and then we'll come by and pick up the commingle, which is your bottles and cans. That's really the biggest change. Everybody should have received a mailer, and if you have not, we have some here right outside the door, which gives you a calendar. So in case you go away for a week or maybe a few weeks, or you get off track for some reason or another, and you're wondering, well, which week is this, for collection? You can always consult the calendar. The calendar will, let you know, is it glass, metal, plastic week? Is it paper and cardboard week? I'll just stop it right here because that's really the biggest change, and just ask if anybody has any questions or if there's any confusion on that concept. Does that make sense to everybody, or anybody have any questions?
Well, I understand it, but I don't understand why you're making it more difficult for us by making us hold on to our recycling, bring it out twice as opposed to once, which we used to do before.
Well, I guess, like anything, change is always, can be a challenge. And I'll talk about the why in a minute. But I think part of the reason, I guess one way of looking at it is, as far as holding on to the material, the reality is that nobody's going to be holding on to any more material under the current, under the new plan versus the current plan. And the reason why I say that is currently everybody is able to get rid of all their material over the course of 2 weeks. And still, over the course of 2 weeks, everybody's material will be collected. So, in that sense, nobody's holding on to any material any longer. As far as bringing it out twice, you're more than likely you're bringing your material to the curb anyway, as far as at least bringing the trash to the curb. So it would be a matter of just bringing the trash and recycling every week instead of just the trash one week and then the trash and the recycling the next week. It's a small difference. It could be, I don't want to, understate whatever inconvenience might be there for certain people. However, I think overall it's not going to be a big change. Now, to answer the question as to why is it happening, there's, I think, a good reason as to why, and hopefully, people can understand why. If you understand why it's happening and the good reasons as to why it's happening, maybe it would help overcome any of the inconvenience that's there. What you see on the screen right here is what we call a co-collector truck, and you can see that this is what we call a rear load style truck, and there's 2 compartments in the back. This is the method that we are going to be collecting in Shrewsbury. So we may use some of this style truck here where the truck's loaded from the rear. Most of our trucks will actually be loaded from the side, but they will also be the split body style where we can co-collect the trash and the recycling at the same time. So I'm still trying to get to the fullness of the answer here to your question. So the idea is that in the larger side of the truck, we're going to collect the trash, and then that same truck, while it's in front of the house at the same time, is going to also collect the recycling. The trucks only have 2 compartments, but yet in Shrewsbury there's really 3 different streams of material. There's the trash, there's the commingle, and then there's the paper and the cardboard. So we had to find a way to to be able to collect all 3 streams of material with a truck that has 2 different compartments. So you might say, well, why? What's the advantage of this style vehicle? So the advantage is that, first of all, it's less truck traffic throughout the town. Instead of having 2 trucks to come by to pick up everybody's material at your residence, it's just 1 truck. So that's half the trucks driving through the town. It's less truck traffic, it's less noise pollution, it's less wear and tear on the roads, it's less of a carbon footprint. Ultimately, it's kind of, it translates into less cost for everybody. I think it's better for the community in a lot of different ways. So I mean, those are some of the advantages of this style, and that's really what's driving that change. So, good question. Yes?
Is the town still going to have the big cardboard dumpster at the site on
South Street?
South Street?
Yes.
All right, so you guys aren't going to collect those big boxes, we still take them there?
So, we do collect cardboard at the curb.
Oh, really?
I mean,
Yes,
right
that's
there,
correct. Yes, as long as it's
my
broken down. Like if
yeah.
you have a refrigerator box and it's
Yeah.
still in the shape of a refrigerator, that's not convenient for the worker.
Oh, but if we break them down, we can put them out at the curb?
Yes. Yeah.
Sweet.
That's part of
Yeah.
the collection.
Correct, yeah.
Okay, so following on to that, so right now, right, if I've got corrugated boxes,
Yeah.
I remember the old regulation said, break them down to a certain size, tie them up, put them out.
Yeah.
Do we now have to put them into bins?
No.
No, okay, so that can still be like, okay, because I wasn't sure, I was thinking, okay, if we're gonna be doing the recycling now, where 1 week we do paper and cardboard, 1 week we do the commingles, you're really still doing, every 2 weeks we're doing paper and cardboard, every 2 weeks we're doing commingle, so it's almost like you'd have double the recycle bins. If we have to put cardboard and paper, because according to the flyer here, it says no bagged recyclable. So
That's
right
correct.
now, we put our newspapers and paper and envelopes and whatever inside brown paper bags and can set them out.
That's okay.
The bags refers to no plastic bags.
No plastic.
Okay, so we can still do the same thing as far as if we have the brown paper bags
Correct.
for that
Yeah.
stuff. Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Can I assume the time you pick it up the first week will be the same the following week?
No, that's a great question. So it's not safe to assume that. I think one of the messages we want to get out to everybody is that while your day of collection will still be the same, it won't change, the route may not run exactly the way you're used to having it running right now. So what that means is, we want everybody to have their material out by 7 a.m. I mean, currently that's I think the town regulation anyway, so that's really not a change. But the reality is that you may be used to the truck coming by at a certain time on trash day, and so you may be able to put it out later or something in anticipation of what the usual time is. And we're just saying that usual time is probably not going to be the same time anymore. So just please have everything at the curb by 7 a.m. and then eventually, you'll probably see the new pattern emerge. But for now, certainly everything should be at the curb for 7 a.m.
Once a pattern is established, we can assume?
I would say, we always like to tell everybody, have the material out at 7 a.m. I mean, that's what the town is going to tell you, that's what we're going to tell you. I'd put it this way, I mean, if you notice that the truck comes by at a certain, after a while, it comes by at 9 o'clock every day, and you want to have it out at 8:30, you're going to run the risk of maybe the truck coming by earlier one day and then getting missed. So I would say the safest thing to do, and goes for everybody, is to always have it out by 7 a.m.
There's one more note as well. For safety reasons, the truck won't be collecting recycling or trash on both sides of the vehicle that goes down a road. It'll do one side and come back the other side. So if they pass your house and they're collecting your neighbors, that doesn't mean that they missed yours. And it's a big part of the safety element during the collection.
So this isn't the style truck exactly that we're going to run in Shrewsbury, but if you could imagine the cab of the truck as it is, and imagine sort of a big opening right in this section of the truck right here, that's the style truck that's going to be operating primarily in the town. So that opening is on the curb side of the vehicle. So there's a few reasons why we say we're only going to collect one side of the street at a time. One is because that's where we load the truck. And then the other thing is, as David mentioned, is that we're not going to be going across the double yellow line and picking up on the other side. We're not going to have drivers run across the street and pull the material over to the loading point of the truck. And that's really for safety. I mean, we value the safety of our employees. We value the safety of the members of the community, and none of those habits or practices are considered safe at all. Yes?
So, are you going to use the same cartons that we used before in terms of collection?
So yeah, you can continue to use whatever you're using now for a container at the curbside, you can continue to use that.
All right, so what you just mentioned reminds me, I've seen the way you collect, Waste Management collects in other communities, like for example in Arizona, where there's an arm that comes out and picks up something. You're not planning to do that here?
It's also
You're not planning on doing that?
No, there's no arm involved. So this is what we call manual collection.
Okay.
So you'll have the driver will get out of the truck and physically pick up the the barrels or the bins, whatever you have, and load it in and put it back. So that's the way it's going to be. Just while we're talking about the method of collection, we were over at the Touch a Truck Day on Saturday, and a few people remarked that, or they'd asked about the number of employees we have out on each truck. And just so everybody knows, there's going to be one employee, generally speaking, out on the truck. He'll be driving it on the right side of the truck, so it's a little bit different than what most Americans are used to. So the truck will actually have two steering wheels, one on the right, one on the left, and he'll operate the truck from the right side as he's collecting. He can jump out of the truck and then load the material right in the side like we were talking about. Then he can jump back in and continue on the route. So it's a very efficient way of collection. When he's done for the day, he needs to go dump out. He'll jump over to the other side and then drive from the left as he exits town. So that's just a kind of point of information in case you're interested in that.
How many trucks are going to be?
Yes.
How many trucks will you be using?
So there's gonna be 4 trucks that Waste Management is purchasing brand new for service in the town of Shrewsbury. So there's an incredible lead time when it comes to procuring trucks. So we have ordered them about almost 6 months ago. At this point, we anticipate them being in probably in another 5 to 6 months. So the new trucks will be in town servicing probably in about 5 to 6 months from now. Hopefully sooner, but I don't want to say that when realistically it probably won't be the case. In the meantime, we're going to use some of our existing assets to collect in town. So that's where you might see that rear load style truck that we have in our fleet right now collecting, or some other different options. But once we get the brand new trucks for the town, that's what you're going to see on a regular basis. Any other questions? Yeah.
There's a number of smaller, almost one-way streets or lanes that aren't really capable of turning one of those around on it. So you're gonna have to probably, what they do now is they drive up and back out.
We would back in and drive out.
Okay.
That's usually the way we do it.
Do you want us to put our trash on the opposite side so it's all on one side of the street?
If residents are willing to do that, that makes life very easy for us. Sometimes, some people aren't willing to do that, and, I don't think we're gonna, I don't know if we're gonna make anybody do that. I mean, that's something that is, something, we haven't discussed that with the town. I mean, we've managed that in other communities where, we back down, we collect from one side. If it truly is that narrow of a street where there's really no way another car is going to be able to come around our truck while we're in the middle, then we will go around to the other side. Our concern is that we don't want our driver just kind of darting across traffic and getting hit. So if we're in a situation where it's there's no double yellow line, the truck's kind of taking up the whole road, we feel that there's not much of a risk in those situations. So we have ways that we can handle that, but yeah, our drivers will love it if you want to bring the stuff over to the other side.
And as a point of information, sorry sir.
Yeah, you did.
The drivers have been running the routes, or one of the drivers has been running the route since January or right around then, to get an idea of how the town works and to try to identify some of those more difficult roads.
Now, you're gonna have one person per truck.
Yes.
Driving it, jumping out, and doing the garbage. Isn't that gonna prolong the duration each day of throwing the garbage and the recycling in the truck, then going, driving, jumping out? I'm just saying.
In a way,
Is it
yes,
gonna
but
exhaust the worker a little?
yes and no is the answer. So the yes part is that it does take longer for one person to jump out of one truck and collect trash and recycling, and then then it would take a truck to pick up just trash. But when you consider the fact that that one truck is picking up both the trash and recycling, that's faster than having one truck come by and do it, and then later on have another truck come by and do it. So that's sort of where the efficiency comes in, is when you look at the whole service altogether. You're not, if you think about it, you're not running every street in the town twice. So that's where it gets a little bit quicker. Good question. Yes?
The cardboard, when you pile it up, 2 by 4, 4 by 4, what's the measurement on it?
Do you have? I think it's 2 by 4.
We don't want anything bigger, certainly anything bigger than 4. 4 is like the limit as to how big anything could be to fit in our hoppers.
So it could be 4 by 4.
Yeah, I mean, smaller the better, but yeah, I think if you have 4 by 4, we would accept that. So currently, I believe the bulky waste program, any larger items, the way it works is you purchase a sticker, and then on your trash day, you leave that item out with the sticker, and it gets collected. So this is another area where we would experience, where I think people will experience a change. So the sticker program will still be in effect. So it'll still require a sticker to be purchased. However, all the bulky waste will be collected on Mondays. So what we would ask you to do is, well, actually, it's going to be a requirement to call Waste Management to let us know that you have a bulky item in front of your house that needs to be collected on Monday. So you would be required to purchase the sticker as you always have been, adhere to the item, and then call us up, let us know that you have an item, and we'll come and collect it. There's also going to be another option that's available to residents is if you don't want to go to the store to purchase the sticker, when you call Waste Management to schedule the item, you could make a payment over the phone to Waste Management where $10 would basically be covering the cost of the sticker, and then it'd be another $5 administration charge just because of what we have to handle on our end. So if that's a convenience to you, by all means take advantage of that. Keep in mind that everybody would be having to call Waste Management anyway. So while you're on the phone, you could always just make the payment there. It'll save you a trip to the store, if that works for you. If you want to do it the way it's always been done and save the $5, by all means, continue to purchase the sticker and then just give us a call when you're ready. So that's
One of the benefits of being able to talk to Waste Management when you call to let them know is they can assure you that the item that you're putting out for pickup can be collected, and they can help answer any questions. So we're hoping to sort of close that loop down so there is less confusion for residents when they put things out at the curbs.
great point, yeah. And so just so everybody knows, we're in the process of training our customer service reps on all the kind of details that are specific to Shrewsbury. So when you call up, our representatives will have a sheet that will come up on their screen for the town of Shrewsbury, and it'll have all the details that pertain to the Shrewsbury program. So they should be informed enough to answer your questions. Yes?
The number to call, are we calling the town hall, or?
It's right here. It's
That's blurred.
Yep. It should also be on the packet as well, but it's 800-972-4545.
Okay, got it.
Yes.
Where can I purchase another recyclable bin? Now I'm gonna need one for bottles and cans and another one for paper goods.
Well, so you could, there's a
You
town
can
office?
still sell them, the town's still going to sell them through the health department for $11. We're going to continue that. You can also use any of your own container. So if you have like a Rubbermaid container, you can use
I
that.
don't.
But that's also acceptable, as long as it's not larger than 32 gallons.
I'm sorry, what?
Not larger than a 32-gallon container.
Right, yeah.
Any other questions?
Do we have any?
Yep, yes, go ahead, good
What
one.
if we actually need less containers because we're only doing one type of recycling each week?
Well-
Like right now, whereas I put out 4, I wouldn't have to.
So you'd still have your 4 containers, and what you would do is assuming that you have 2 for paper and cardboard and 2 for bottles and cans, you just bring out 2 one week, and then you bring out the other 2 the next week. So you'd still need 4, or if you use 2 right now, 1 for your bottles and cans and 1 for your paper and cardboard, you'd still just use what you have, It's just a matter of half of it goes one week, half of it goes the next week.
For the commingles, can I ask?
Yeah.
That picture, I think you had like 3 different.
Yep.
Do they all go in the same bin?
Yes,
The glass and bottles and,
correct.
okay.
What you have in the array box over there is, you'll see what's generally accepted. So, I don't know how many people have heard about some of the recycling, basically the recycling crisis that's been going on over the past year and a half with China, where our markets to sell recyclable products, commodities such as plastics and mixed paper and cardboard have pretty much evaporated. So it's created a real crisis as far as how haulers and processors are handling this. So one of the things that has sort of resulted one of the results of it is that the people who are still purchasing these different commodities are really demanding that the contamination levels be minimal. So in order to accomplish that, we are very, very particular about what we can accept and what we cannot accept. So, I think everybody has been kind of gotten the message over the years that it's good to recycle, and it certainly is a good thing. It's good to divert from the waste stream, and that is certainly a goal. But, I think a lot of people sometimes don't know what really should be going in the recycle bin and what shouldn't be. So there's sort of this wishful recycling that we say happens where it's like, well, if this looks plastic or if it's kind of metal, it ends up in the bin. And really what we're trying to say is that there's only a really kind of a narrow band of materials and items that are really acceptable for recycling. So it's really designed for what you see up on the board here. So you have your metal food and beverage containers, your plastic food and beverage containers, other household cleaners, detergent bottles, those kinds of things, and certainly your glass items as well. Glass bottles and jars. We're not looking for windows. We're not looking for Pyrex, cooking vessels and things like that. So it's really a narrow band of what we're looking for. And then again on the paper and cardboard, just looking for clean, unsoiled paper and cardboard items. What we see here below is really the biggest challenge that we have is bags. No plastic bags in the recycling, please. They're a real issue when they go to the processing facilities. If you could imagine these processing facilities, they're largely conveyor driven. The material gets brought to the facility. It gets runs through a series of conveyors. All these conveyors have all these wheels and all these rotating parts. And what happens is the plastic bags, they get caught up in all this rotating machinery, and it gets jammed up. The plant shuts down. Everything shuts down. We can't process material anymore. It becomes a big issue. And those bags they're not designed for curbside recycling. So we would ask everybody to bring their plastic bags back to your grocer or back to somebody who accepts bags and sort of that plastic film type material for recycling. That's the biggest challenge that we see. A lot of times folks will take their recyclable material and they'll put it in a plastic bag. Probably everybody's guilty of doing that at some point in time. But that's not helpful. We want everything to be loose. No plastic bags, no material in plastic bags. That's really the biggest challenge. The food or the liquid, that's kind of pertains to some people will just throw away food, or sometimes there'll still be a significant amount of food residue in the containers that they're trying to recycle. Yes?
Are you allowed to recycle containers that once contained food?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so, they don't have to be, immaculately clean. I mean, a good, a simple rinse is sufficient.
But pizza boxes are not.
So pizza boxes, for a long time, recyclers asked to not recycle those because of the grease. But the DEP has worked with all of the different recyclers in the state, and we've come up with a list of what we call a universal list where these items are universally accepted as recyclables. So I can tell you today that pizza boxes are recyclable.
Not pizza.
But not pizza. So no pizza in the box, all right? A little grease on the pizza box is okay, but if you got big chunks of cheese or something else in there, that's not good. But the pizza box itself is fine, even if there's some grease staining. Yes.
When I look at the pictures here, I wonder about the paper on the cans.
It's okay.
And the lids on the plastic.
Okay.
And if
so-
I have a glass bottle with a plastic lid, that needs to be separated, right?
So we,
Because
Why do you have to be so confusing?
I want to make sure that our trash is clean enough that it will be recycled and
Yeah.
not dumped in a landfill.
right, so, good question. So we tell everybody that leave the caps on your containers. The reason why is a couple of reasons. One is that the cap on its own is generally too small to be processed effectively through the sorting plant. It tends to fall through the mechanisms that we have, and it's not captured. However, if you leave that cap on the container, now both the cap and the container can be recycled. So that's the answer there. As far as any kind of labeling that you'll see on your paper, your glass, that's okay. It's not a problem.
But you will notice that some manufacturers now are making it so labels easily come off to make them more recyclable. So you can remove them, but it's not at all required.
Yeah, it's not going to hurt anything if you remove it, but it's not a problem if you want to leave it on.
There are some cardboard boxes that have very fancy layering on top, like wax,
Oh, yeah.
paper.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Is that okay to?
No, we don't want wax paper, we don't want like foil or plastic coated things. If you have some, if you have some tape on the outside of the box, or if there's a, label of some sort, that's okay. But, we really don't want anything that is going to have any kind of waxy coating, or even like, sometimes you'll see like a waxy cardboard for different kinds of produce. We don't want that either. Actually, one other thing I'll just call to everybody's attention is that while pizza boxes are now recyclable, one thing that's not recyclable that once was is the cartons. So like milk cartons,
milk
juice
cartons.
cartons. No, so don't. So and that's a situation where there's really no market for those, at least not locally, where they can be effectively marketed to somebody to buy.
You mean the Gable Top?
Gable top containers, correct.
Even
Yeah.
if you clean them nice and
It's-
take the plastic out?
It's not a matter of the plastic, or it's not a matter of the juice or milk residue. It's really a matter of the fact that there's actually a pretty low volume of those. So what ends up happening is that it takes a really long time for a recycling plant to get enough of that material to actually get a tractor trailer worth full to ship off somewhere. And then on top of it, there's really no place locally, like anywhere that's cost effective for us to ship it to. You gotta go out to like, I think past like the Great Lakes or way down south or something like that. And it's not, so there's just, if there was a mill that accepted that material here in New England, I'm sure it'd be a different situation. But currently, there's just no place to bring it where it's cost effective. And honestly, it's a relatively low volume of material on those. Yeah.
I just had a couple questions. So the rolled oats, it's the cardboard, but then it has a little plastic rim on the top.
Yeah.
Is that, so what do you do, because those are 2 different days?
Uh,
I just don't, so is that not, it's just kind of takes a big volume too in their trash, so I just didn't know.
Yeah. I guess if you could easily remove the plastic part, I would say probably throw away the plastic part, and then you could recycle the rest of that cardboard container. Yeah, go ahead.
And so glass, from what I understand, like if you have broken glass, that needs to go in the trash, right?
Broken glass can go in the trash.
Like if your frame broke or a plate broke or something like that.
Okay, well, so frames and plates shouldn't be in the recycling anyway.
Right.
So if you have plate glass for your frame, for a tabletop, or for a window, that doesn't belong in the recycling at all, even if it's not broken. Same thing with any kind of plates or ceramic or anything like that. It does not belong in the recycling. The only kind of glass that we want is just your basic food containers, that kind of thing.
But if it breaks, is that okay to put in the recycling?
If it breaks, I think it'd be best just to put it in the trash.
Okay. So I have a general question. Where does the recycling facility is?
So the recycling facility is in Auburn.
In Harvard?
Auburn,
Auburn.
yes.
Okay. And your trash will also still go to that Millbury?
In Millbury,
location and
yep.
then burn
Yeah.
it and, okay.
Correct. Yeah, so the trash will still be burned and turned into energy, so
And
it's, yeah.
your truck route is gonna be similar to existing route? Because my truck comes first thing in the morning, I think they start at my neighborhood. So
They may, yeah.
several
Well, so
times.
I can't make any guarantees or promises as to where they're gonna start or stop. So that's why, you know, we said early on that just please make sure your material is out by 7 a.m. So if they're starting at your neighborhood now, you're already conditioned to having it out first thing in the morning, you're all set. So, yeah, just to reiterate though, I mean, our routes may run a little bit differently. They may start and stop a little bit different as far as, you know, the current, the way they're currently being run. And then also, we're going to do something called looping, which is what David had talked about before, where we are only going to pick up on one side of the street. So when you see your neighbor across the street got their trash and recycling picked up, and yours still is there, don't get nervous, don't get anxious. Just realize that our truck is going to keep making these turns and go up and down the different streets and different neighborhoods, and eventually we'll make it back to being in front of your house, and both sides of the street will then be collected. So don't get too nervous about that. And it could be a while because you know, it's not like they go up and down one street and then come down. That may happen, but they may choose to continue just to keep collecting on the curbside, and it may lead them up and down different streets and different neighborhoods. Yes?
What about styrofoam?
Styrofoam is not recyclable.
So what do we do with that?
It's trash.
Trash. I'm sorry,
It goes in the trash.
in the trash?
Yes.
There are some special events where the recycling is collected, and so if you just subscribe to the recycling news in town, then you'll be on the alert for that.
You know Missy Hollenbeck holds them?
Say that whole thing again, I'm sorry. I didn't get you.
If you sign up for the emails from the town health department,
Yeah.
right, by recycling news, you'll hear about when there's special events for recycling styrofoam.
Yeah, so that kind of brings up a great point, is that you may hear that certain items are recyclable, that they can be recycled, and it's probably true, like styrofoam in this case, but that doesn't mean that they're recyclable at the curb. So that's an important distinction. So even the plastic bags that we're just talking so much about, we don't want them at the curb. But you might hear people say, but they're recyclable. Yes, they're recyclable when you bring them to the grocery store and put them in the bin that they have there. Then they're recyclable. They're not recyclable when they go to the curb. So just a distinction I wanted to make. Yes?
The metal, the recyclable metal, does it include the aluminum disposable containers?
Yes. Yeah, you could, yeah, by all means, yeah. So the metal is, you know, so you have soda cans, beer cans, sometimes the aluminum trays and things like that. Those can all go into the recycling, as well as your steel cans, your tin cans, and things like that. So all those different metals are recyclable. Yes.
How about clean aluminum foil?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, it's not. I kind of hesitate because, you know, it's how clean is it? But yeah, technically it is on the list of, you know, the universal list, so it can be, yeah.
Gotta be clean.
Yep.
Glass jars with either metal or plastic lids, you want to keep those on?
Yeah, you can leave that on, yep. That'd be fine.
Used to be there was a code on some of the plastics, that a number.
Yes.
That you can tell whether it's recyclable or not. Is that like out the door? Just
Sort of. So just to kind of set the record straight, the number on there, that you see the chasing arrows that form a triangle with the number in the middle, and you'll still see it, it's still out there. That's really not a recyclable code. I think people have sort of taken it to mean that. But that actually is just a resin code that is used by plastic manufacturers. So it's indicative of the type of plastic that you're handling, but it doesn't necessarily. It was never intended to mean that that item is recyclable. It just means that it's made out of a certain type of plastic. So you'll still see those. What we're trying to do, we're trying to get away from. Notice we haven't talked about the numbers. Where in the past you might have heard, oh, our program accepts numbers 1 through 7, or our program accepts 1, 2, and 5, or whatever the case is. Well, we're trying to get away from that language, because what we found is that there's so many things that are made out of plastic in our world. And so many of those things have the code that you're mentioning. And so if you look at you know, your kid's toy or the jacket that came around your toaster or something like that, and you say, oh, well, this has this number on it, therefore I can put it in the recycling. Well, that's part of the reason why we ended up in trouble with contamination, because there's a lot of things that really weren't acceptable. They're not, they don't work well in the curbside program, but somebody saw that number on there and said, oh, I can put it in the bin. So that's why we're getting away from that, and we're trying to just use the language of cans and bottles. We think that that's, when I say we, it's really the DEP in conjunction with the different recyclers in the state, feel like that's sort of a better approach, to just get people to think about those images. If it looks like that, it can go in the bin. And the other thing we're trying to say is that if there's questions, if it's an item where you're like, I don't really know, if there's doubt, you say, when in doubt, throw it out. So if it doesn't look like one of these things, and you're really wondering, you should just err on the side of caution and put it in the trash. Yes?
The plastic that strawberries come in, salads come in,
Yeah.
the big square,
Yeah.
lightweight plastic,
Yes.
those are not recyclable?
I think they are.
Yeah.
We can double check on that. The big thing is, if an item is classified as a can, bottle, jar, jug, or tub,
Yeah.
Mass DEP has identified that those are all in a similar family of plastics, and I believe that those salad trays are. We can check on that though.
The
and
one
post
thing
that
that-
afterwards.
The one thing I can say is that the black plastic, if you have like a black plastic tray, some of the black plastic food trays, I know those are not recyclable.
Okay.
Yeah. The black ones.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
If you're a person who's picking up the recycling,
Yes.
and in a bin, they find one or two items that is not acceptable, would you leave the whole bin, or would you remove the item from the bin?
All right. So.
Tricky.
The trick question.
Yeah, so I mean, if it's one thing, you know, I'd like to think that the guy picking up or the lady picking up will have, you know, kind of just be able to just maybe pull that aside. And I know that has happened, you know, in the past where, you know, there's that one item and they might just kind of push it aside or something and then take the rest. But here's where we're coming from, is that, you know, our guys have a big job to do, collecting a lot of material throughout the whole town, and they got to get it done in a certain time frame. And their job is not to be sorting through
That's
the
true.
material at the back of the
Absolutely.
truck.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think our people are pretty reasonable and they want to work with everybody. But, you know, that's not, they can't do that at every stop, you know.
Exactly.
And so, but if we do, but your question's good because it sort of points to something like, let's say there's a recycle bin that's placed out there and there's plastic bags in there. That's something that, you know, we see it all the time. Plastic bags or hoses or what we call tanglers like ropes or wires, Christmas lights or something we get a lot. These items that are just, they're not acceptable. Food or diapers even, you know, like people will put some stuff in there that makes you scratch your head and wonder, you know, why do you think that's recyclable? That's where you might see a tag like this. So what we want to do is let everybody know, kind of help educate, work with everybody, and say, well, you know, if you go back out to get your bins and you notice that they didn't get collected, maybe your trash got picked up and your recycling's still sitting there, you're going to wonder why. So that's why we have this sticker right here. So the sticker basically tries to cover some of the more common reasons why the material may not be collected. So like right at the top, you know, you see commingled / paper recycling will be collected next week. So the intention here is that, you know, if the wrong material got put out on a certain week, is that we would circle that material, and now you would know that that's just going to get collected the next week. What we see here, the next line down, is some of the common contaminants, and plastic bags is right, the first one on the list. And so our guy would just, just probably check that off and then just leave the sticker there on your bag so you'd understand what happened. So that's pretty much what you might see there. We have our number right on the top. If there's any questions, you could always give us a call. When our driver leaves one of these stickers at the curb, he's calling into our dispatch center and he's letting dispatch know that I'm at, 123 Main Street and, there was plastic bags in the recycling. And so then what happens is that list will periodically be sent over to our customer service department. And so if you were to call in and they would depending on the timing, of your call, they should have an awareness that, well, the reason why you weren't collected was because of, whatever was reported by the driver. But you should have the same thing here as well on the sticker.
I have a question.
Sure.
So you have one person driving the truck, one person, that same person, also putting the trash and recycling in the back of the truck. And then the other requirement is if it doesn't meet recycling, he's gonna he or she will actually fill out one of these, call dispatch. Okay, so how is that like more of a efficient workflow? I guess I'm trying to understand.
There are some 4 trucks, you want to...
It's more efficient because, first of all, is that what's happening now, I guess, in some sense? Like, is somebody calling in the call center and letting...
I have no idea.
Yeah, right,
But
I
I
guess...
know they have the stickers, but it's usually one person's driving,
Yeah.
the other one's doing the sticker and
Yeah.
throwing it on. You know what I mean?
Right, no, I do.
So that being said, that's a lot of responsibility for the person that's actually doing the route.
It is a lot of responsibility, yeah, and we screen our employees and train them, and we have a lot of long-term employees, and we, trust that they do a good job.
I don't doubt that.
Yeah, no,
It just
you're right,
seems like a lot.
It
To do
is.
for one person, I'd be like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, well, no, it is a lot, but, they're very capable of it. So, to kind of answer your question in a few different ways, you say, how is it more efficient than what's happening now? I want to make sure we're comparing apples to apples. So, we may be offering some services that may not be happening right now. So in that sense, I can't say it's more efficient to do something now that's not being done previously. But kind of what I answered the other part of the question similar to the way I answered it to the other gentleman, where when that one driver is getting out of the truck and collecting the trash and the recycling at the same time, it's not faster than just collecting trash or just collecting recycling. It's not. But when you compare the big picture of that one guy in one truck all at the same time as collecting both of those, that is faster than having one truck come by and then plus the other truck come by.
That part
and
I
do it later.
understand.
Yeah.
I totally understand that part. But the fact that whoever's doing the route has to actually
Drive,
filter, and just make sure that.
So the filter part is kind of like
and this is where the filter part comes in, right?
Okay.
With the sticker.
Yeah. So one thing I want to make clear is that our guys, this is what I said earlier, is our guys aren't there sorting the material at the side of the truck or the back of the truck. That's not what they should be doing. I don't know if that's happening now, but that's not what they should be doing. I guess what I would say is this: our trucks, especially once we get the trucks that we've purchased brand new for the town, when we get those in, it's important to realize that they're designed in a way that helps with the efficiency. So the driver is actually going to be driving the truck and can be there standing up, driving the truck from the right side, and he takes one step out of the truck and he's at the curb. He picks the material up and he takes one step back and he puts it in, puts the material back down, and he takes one step back in. So why am I kind of making this point? Is that it's a little bit quicker, it's a lot quicker for him to do that, say, 500 times over the course of the day than it is for him to sort of get out on the left side of the truck, run all the way to the back, get the stuff, load it up, and then run all the way up. So what I'm trying to say is that when you design the truck the way we've ordered them, there's efficiencies that are built into it. And it makes a big difference when you take that process and repeat it, say, 500 times a day. It adds up.
Right, so you're making it more of a lean process, which I totally understand.
Yeah.
But where does the sticker come in? Like, where is that located?
The sticker's going to be in the cab of the truck. He's going to have them, there's like
So that's gonna be another step back into the cab.
well, that would be, but the idea is that we hope that the stickers aren't going to have to be used that often.
Okay, I'm just thinking in the beginning, you probably will have to.
We may, yeah, so we figure that,
So
yeah.
trash will be delayed because we're all in the learning process, right?
Yeah, I guess you could look at it that way. I mean, hopefully, if you think of it this way, like, I can't tell you when your trash is going to be picked up right now. Like, I can't tell you what time of day that's going to be. So you're not going to know if it's delayed or not.
Right.
But if it is, I'll tell you right off the bat that yes, the first week, months that we're doing this, our drivers will be slower at the process than they would be, say, a year from now. There's no doubt. Our drivers will get better, we will get more efficient, but we feel that even with some of the learning curve that we know we're going to face in the beginning, we should have ample resources and time to get everything collected.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that it will also probably not take as much time as time goes on because we're going to get the new trucks.
Mm-hmm.
So for right now, we're still using the old ones where you put the trash and the recycling in the back, right?
So here's what's going to happen. So right now, today, the current hauler is still picking up. Starting July 1st, that's when Waste Management takes over. When we take over, we're going to use the trucks that we have in our fleet right now that are going to be compatible with the town. So there may be some trucks that are loaded from the rear, like we talked about before. There may be some trucks that are loaded from the side. So it's going to be a mix. Once all the new trucks come in, yes, you are correct. Once all the new trucks come in, everything will be faster, and of course, by that point in time, our drivers will have, familiarity with the routes and everything. So we would anticipate that things will be very efficient by that point. Yeah.
You referenced earlier a listing of universally accepted items within the state or region?
State.
Yeah. Where can we go to see that list of items?
It is posted on the town's website, but we can have the health department send a news flash out with that, and maybe we can have the Shrewsbury Facebook page updated with a link to that as well.
That would be great.
Any more questions?
I have one more question, sorry about the plastics. So if you bought something, say a tool and it had the clear plastic around it,
Yeah.
is that recyclable? Whether it has a triangle on it or not, is it recyclable?
I would say, so that's a good example of kind of what we were talking about as far as the mindset change, where if you have something like that, if that doesn't look like any of the pictures that we were talking about, so that's how simple we're trying to make it, like, does it look like these? If not, it goes in the trash.
But the strawberry things and blueberries, all those little containers do go.
I think we'd have,
Yeah.
I would double check on that, but,
Plastic.
yes, it's, usually those are a number one plastic.
Yeah, we can double check. I think there's also a link on the town's website right now where you can type in certain items like strawberry container, and it will let you know based on Mass DEP's website if that's accepted or not.
Yeah, so you're referring to the smart,
Yeah.
smart, yeah, so it's a link that's called, I think it's called Recyclopedia, and it's really a neat resource because you just type it in, and this will also give you kind of ideas about other things too. So if you had something that you kind of know isn't recyclable, but you want to reuse it and not put it in the trash, like clothing or something like that, it will give you some ideas about a wide variety of different materials.
So, sorry, just a question for people that aren't a computer literate or don't have access to a computer. Is there some way that they can contact to get this information as well versus using the social media?
You could always, I guess you could call Waste Management, you could call our call center, you could probably call the town.
Yep, yeah, I guess.
So we can call the town as well, so
Yeah,
Right.
either one, yeah, so, yeah, we're trying to, direct as much, as many of the phone calls to us as possible, but, certainly the town's always a resource to its residents, absolutely.
So maybe for the other conferences, is there any chance, that you have 3 more, find out about the,
Yeah.
the
We can-
strawberry?
Yeah, I think,
I'll
yeah,
take this.
we
Yeah, 'cause
definitely
that's
will,
kind
yeah.
of a lot of recycling that people do, just
Right.
so that we know.
It's a great question, yeah.
Taking it now.
No, you're fine. No worries. Oh, glad you brought it up. Oh, okay, sorry.
See if there's anything else, or
We talked about,
you can leave this one up if anyone has any questions. Or...
just maybe the holiday week.
Oh, yeah.
So, just as a reminder, the new service will start on July 1st, which is the week of Independence Day. I think this is probably the way it's always been done, but just as a reminder, everybody who has service that falls, is that a Wednesday, I think? Or it's
Thursday.
Thursday. So everybody who has a Thursday pickup will be picked up on Friday. Everybody who has a Friday pickup will be picked up on Saturday. I think that's the way it's always been done. We'll continue with that same pattern for this and for all holidays.
And the holidays have been identified in the calendar, and if you do subscribe to the news flashes, those will still be continued to be sent out to the residents.
Yes.
Out of curiosity, how long is this contract that you have with the town so that I know we don't have to do this again next year?
It's for 5 years, and then there's 2 option years, I think, after that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, well, we know everybody realizes that change is can be a little bit difficult. So we're trying to do meetings like this to help get everybody adjusted as seamlessly as possible.
And then to be on the lookout, in collaboration with Waste Management, the town's going to host a hazardous waste event in October. So more information will be going out about that. The town hasn't hosted one in 6 years, so we're trying to provide the residents an opportunity to dispose of some of their hazardous materials properly. We've also signed an agreement to have a free textile recycling. So in the middle of July, you'll receive some additional information. It's not through Waste Management, but it's another item, another option, and you can dispose of your clothes and other recyclable materials, but not usually recyclable at the curb, in these pink bags, and they'll just get collected. It's free to the residents, and they'll give you more bags when they take the old ones. So be on the lookout for that.
Yeah, go ahead.
What about cooking oils?
Um,
Deep fryers, cooking oils?
You mean for
things
hazardous
like-
material?
Is there anywhere in town to take cooking oils, like vegetable oil or just from frying
I'm
food?
not positive. We do also have some contact information for NEDT on the town's website. I would probably recommend reaching out to them. That is a hazardous collection location. I think it's on the sort of southern side of Massachusetts.
Is there any change to like the holiday, Christmas tree?
Yes, there's, the Christmas collection will be for 2 weeks total instead of a month this year, and those weeks have been identified on the calendar. It will be,
do you have it on?
oh, I do have it on the slide. It might be tough to see. You can see that, you can put it up.
These weeks right here that have the trees next to them.
January 5th through the 11th and the 12th through the 18th will be the Christmas tree collection week.
Just piggybacking off that, with the current hauler today, they were throwing in a free trash bag along with that week, right? Because they were encouraging for the gift wraps, which are not recyclable, to be put in there and hauled away. Does Waste Management foresee doing the same program?
I wasn't aware of that, so I'm not sure.
It's going to be the same thing, but just on the blue bag for 1 week.
Oh, yeah, okay, no, I think we did.
You
Okay,
can cover that,
I'm
yeah.
sorry, I thought you may have meant that
You were
there was
providing
an
that.
additional bag that we provided.
No.
No, we did talk about that,
Yeah.
and yeah, that's fine. Any other questions?
Be nice to your trash man.
Yes, yeah, be nice to them. The guys and gals work very hard.
Well, we thank you all for coming. It's very important, and we're really grateful that you all came tonight. If you have any other questions, this will be aired again, and there will be additional events. We want you all to communicate if you don't understand, so please reach out.